Hi, this is Doug Ward from Tech Britain. Today we're with Andrew from Farset Labs. Thanks for your time, Andrew.
No problem at all.
Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to see you again.
So we're in the Belfast area, and well, I should say we're in Belfast, and yeah, we'd just like to start with letting our viewers know a little bit about yourself.
Well, I mean, I've got a background in academics, but I've always been a little bit footloose and never really happy with, just doing the thing that you're told to do. Farset Labs is a kind of hybrid between co-working space, hacker space, and early stage incubator, which to my knowledge nobody else has tried to do this close to the wire. It came out of a conversation that I had about 3 years ago now at the Next Hope in New York, which is a hacker conference, and I was chatting to all these guys who had created all of these fantastic network tools. And I was chatting to them, where do you come up with your ideas? Where do you come up with your time to do this? And every single one of them said, my local hackerspace. Back in my head, I instantly went, where's the Belfast one? There was absolutely no thought that there wouldn't be one. It was just an automatic assumption that this must exist. So hop on the Googles, hop on the Facebook, hop on the Twitter. Everyone's kind of heard, oh, there were these guys who were doing something, but nothing really happened. And I still have the original Google group message that said, this is Bolster contacting you from a hammock in the Pennsylvania Hotel in New York. We're putting together a hackerspace, join. And over the past, year and a half, I've spent an awful lot of time developing the community and the connections and the notoriety within the local tech community, so that whenever we actually pulled the trigger on this, which was only really about 6 months ago, we had a fantastic amount of local support, a fantastic amount of very easy PR channels, which is surprisingly important in the grand scheme of things. And I have to say that the only thing that has kept me and the rest of us going through this has been the sense of community. These places don't happen just because one person decides, yes, this should be a thing, this is completely a good idea. It happens because the community has a need and the community has passion for the kind of work that we're trying to do.
I mean, I must say, given we've had the benefit of speaking with other people in Belfast before meeting yourself today, the response about Farset Labs has just been terrific.
I mean, we've had the real advantage of being able to ride this wave so far, because we've had it, even though I say that we started off a year and a half ago, not nearly 2, that's depressing. That first year and a bit was mostly literally just a case of meeting up in the pub and chatting about the work that you're doing. And we had guys coming in with laptops and debugging things in the back of a bar, and we would complain about the terrible 3G signal in the back of this tiny bar.
Yep.
But then that moved on to working with the Students' Union at Queen's University and their Dragon Slayers, which is their gaming club, and they have these regular 24-hour game-a-thons. We called in a few favours with some friends and just said, do you mind if we sit in the corner and hack away at things? That carried on the sort of ethos and the idea and allowed us to sort of see some traction and also to start to acquire some kit. Then about sort of 6 months ago, all the pieces of the puzzle started to fall in. The community was there. We had a good leading team, which was myself, David Kane, who's another Queen's undergraduate who's doing physics, and Owen Murray, who's an electrical engineer, first year, and both of them do a fantastic job, and it means that there's a really nice amount of balance, and it meant that we could spread ourselves a bit thinly. There were times where we were checking 3 or 4 properties a week, and everyone communicated really well, and we were able to see what was happening and how much money we were going to have to find. And then the joyous money hunting started. We started off with the idea we need to find, I think the number off the top of my head was about 10 or 15 grand. We needed to find 10 or 15 grand just to get started. So we ended up going to the local tech companies and saying, look, we've got this thing, we need some money, we want all of you to come in together as a conglomerate. It's only going to be 2 grand each. Nobody's got any major risk. But of course, they wanted something out of it. It became a chicken and egg argument. It was a case of, we're not going to give you money until you promise to give us this. Well, we can't promise you anything because we're making this up as we go along. very conveniently around that time that I was starting to get very, very, very aggravated with the entire process and was very close to throwing in the towel. A friend of mine, Ben Bland, who actually has a studio over the way, mentioned that Tom Eakin, the landlord here at Weaver's Court, was a good guy all around and all that stuff, and said that we should probably organise a meet with him. Within about half an hour of the conversation, both sides worked out independently that we could, try this. That he had a not fit for high class office building, but not fit for warehousing in between that would need development either direction, whereas we could take it as is. Add that to the benefit that we're a registered charity. Well, the Northern Ireland Charities Commission is a little bit defunct at the minute, but as far as HMRC are concerned, we're a charity, which is all that counts.
Yep.
So we had no rates, and it works out for everybody. He's given us a very, very good deal to get us off the ground. We've said to him that, of course, whenever the startups start coming through here, we send them off to his fantastic facilities.
Sure.
And now here we are, a month and I think it's 19 days since our launch day, and last night we had, was that last night? What day is it today?
Thursday.
Yeah, what day we build? Or no, Block 54. We had
Block 54. Yeah, we had an event there.
Yeah, we had about 50 odd people just in this space.
It was awesome, yeah.
And the vibe was absolutely fantastic. We had about 30 odd people in over this past weekend doing a 24-hour hackathon where we had games were developed. I actually managed to get some work done. Other guys were doing native OS X database administration for MongoDB, and all of this completely. We had two. I think they were sheepdogs running around, or we had two dogs running around, like Sheldon and Stewie, which is a bit random. There's a cat that wanders around Weaver's Court, and the vibe in this place is very, very relaxed and very, very free. Everyone knows that they can do what they want within health and safety, and within not being a dick.
Yeah.
And it's a really good atmosphere that everyone's hoping to maintain.
Absolutely. I mean, we experienced that when we came to Block 54. I should say it's a games event that's held here now. In fact, I think it's I wanted to speak about what's behind us first.
The blackboard. Everybody comments on the blackboard. Everybody loves the blackboard.
So I don't know if you can see that, but that's a QR code.
They can probably scan it at the minute.
Yeah. And I mean, just things like this that add to the environment.
The blackboard is definitely a feature piece, but it's kind of a show-off point of how the whole ethos works at all. It's one of our first big events, which was called Spring Up, which was another one of these 24-hour hackathons. A friend of mine, Matt Campbell, had organised this event with the guys at Google Mingo, and they'd attempted to get a venue there, but it fell through. On the Tuesday before their Friday starting 24-hour event, that had been in the works for about 2 months now. And he got me in a good mood, and he just said, look, Bolster, everything's going to hell, it's all falling apart. And I said, sure, we'll do it here. And this place absolutely looked terrible. There's a terrible patchy set of baby blue and some other strange colours that should never be seen by man or beast. And we just said, look, the rest of it is sketchy but fine. We need to do something about that. Within an hour and a half, we had sent a contingent out to Homebase to grab a couple of tins. We had been in touch with Homebase previously and said, look, we want to do blackboard, what's the best paint to get? We had been on Wolfram Alpha to do the calculations to work out how much paint we needed. A couple of people had scurried around the place to grab bodies, so we put up posts on Facebook and Twitter and said, look, right, paint party at Farset Labs. We sent a contingent off to the off license to grab a few beers to keep everyone going. And then within 3 hours we got the first code on, was ready for just a few top-ups, and we had a big projector screen, or just a projector up on that wall, sitting watching Firefly with a couple of beers and some pizzas. So total turnaround time about 6 hours.
Really captures the atmosphere and the culture, what's going on here.
Yeah.
I mean, just for our viewers, you can't see, through the door is another part of Farset Labs. You like to just...
This is only really about half the space. We've got about 2,000 square feet, and it's almost separated half and half. This half is what we affectionately call the event space, which is, funnily enough, the space for events. Behind the camera, I suppose, we've got another sort of opening, which is mostly a presentation area, but behind a partition wall there, we've got a store that has a massive range of equipment, ranging from, I think, the BBC Micros back there and an old working Next Cube, along with car ultrasonic parking sensors. Someone's got a plan for an ultrasonic harp. Yeah, don't worry. Few more server racks back there. We've got the area that ends up being sort of catering area. But the big interesting stuff is actually down behind that partition wall. That's the real co-working area. So there's about, I would say, about 18 to 20 desk spaces there that people can come in, members can come in and use our tasty internet from Tibus. We've got an absolutely stonking internet connection. We've got 5 milliseconds to Dublin, 55 milliseconds to New York, all on a direct fibre line at the end of the wall.
Yeah, we've been told about this. This is a real pull.
Yeah, we're tied into Project Calvin, which Tibus contribute to, and they've been absolutely fantastic to us. So we've got our little tiny server cabinet there, fully fitted kitchen. Actually, you tried the cupcakes?
Yeah, well, yeah, I did. They were very good, and
we've been trying to, I can't say trying. We've been doing it. We've been putting together. We've got the hacker space, and we decided why not have a baker space.
Yeah.
So every couple of days, there's something being baked in the oven there. Whenever I remember the conversation with Tom Egan at Weaver's Court, whenever we said to him, right, well, what do you want to, or what do you need to have to move in? I said, right, yeah, we would need the kitchen redone, and we'd want an oven. What?
For a hacker space.
An oven for an office? Yes, I want an oven. Non-negotiable, we want an oven. And he goes, yeah, fine, strange request, but no problem. So we've definitely made waves and done strange things, but that's the way it has to be. And we've moved so fast just because it's the only way to do it. The only way that you can pull off something like this, you can't do it through paperwork and requests for funding. It has to be a case of you trade on your goodwill, you trade on your friendships, you trade on your karma, and you say, look, this is going to be fantastic, help me now or get out of the way.
Did I notice a karma board?
Yes, the karma board is in progress. It's one of the systems that we want to have, because obviously A, operating as a charity, and B, operating on zip budget. Convincing people to do things that are nice can be quite difficult. So we're more or less copying and pasting, or the idea from Reddit almost, except cross-hatching it with a few different things like idea scale. But the simple idea is as intuitive as you think. If someone does something good, they get an upvote. If something does something bad, they get a downvote. Then in terms of the prizes for that, month on month, the people who get the most positive karma get a free membership, and then, well, I think we're looking at the top 3, and then we socially punish the losers. But there's a few interesting dynamics that we're looking at turning into something actionable later on. One of the things that we're thinking about doing is using that same karma system to vote on people's projects and people's startups, so that the community can fund that £500 piece of equipment that you need for your project, or that the community can fund that your flights to WWDC, or something like that. If the community gets behind it,
it's like a social currency.
Yeah, it's my big effort with this. Yes, I've been the major driving force between getting this thing up and running. I want to get as much responsibility away from me as possible. I want to be able to enjoy this place the same as everyone else instead of managing everything.
Sure.
So I think that the tools for crowdsourcing both responsibility and the ability to take action are very, very important for anything like this.
I think one thing Andrew's not saying is he's currently doing his doctrine as well. So
it was a case of Farset Labs was taking longer than I had planned. I had secured a job after my master's degree, and politely told them to bog off because I wasn't done yet. And the PhD's research in decentralized security for autonomous underwater submarines.
It's very simple. We spoke about it after.
No, well, to me it is at the minute.
Yeah.
I'm neck deep in it. I've got about 5 or 6 papers sitting in my bag that my supervisor has, that my supervisor thinks that I've already read. There's an interesting timeshare that happens, and everyone who's been involved in this has had crossed commitments. So I'm doing the PhD, but also David is doing he's going through, well, this is his 3rd year of examining, so he's up to his eyes, especially this time of the year. Owen is just going through 1st year, but well, so he doesn't know what work is yet. But
You'll see this later.
That's it. No, this is it. I'm taking advantage of him as much as I can. While I know he's got the free time.
Sure, yeah.
And I mean, there's many other people in the community who have contributed their time, and I mean, time is our most precious commodity. So I mean, it's very easy for people in a comfortable position. It's very easy for somebody to give a £5 or £10 or however much money they will like, but it's quite difficult to get people to donate their time and their passion, which I think is the Farset Labs is the lightning rod for people to do that in Belfast, and I think that every city in the UK and the world should have this.
I agree, without a doubt. With people who looking where to get some more information, where can they go?
Well, I mean, you can probably see, well, try the QR code. But no, all of our stuff is actually, if you just Google for Farset Labs, you'll find everything. We've got our Twitter, our Facebook. We're in terms of the day-to-day stuff, we've gone old school and we've converted an awful lot of people to IRC.
Wow.
So we're at #Farset Labs on Freenode. And of course, farsetlabs.org.uk has all of the information. We've got our WordPress blog, we've got our Redmine project management stuff, which apart from some internal financial management stuff, all of our projects are public to the world, so you can see them in progress. And I think you can comment anonymously, I'm not entirely sure. We've got I think I already mentioned the wiki up there, probably not. We're trying to keep everything as open as possible. We're trying to record some best practices as well.
Fantastic. In terms of Belfast tech community, I mean, this is a real asset. What would you think of Belfast tech community?
The Belfast tech community has a few. You can't talk about the Belfast tech community as a global thing or as a universal thing, because there's an awful lot, or historically there's been an awful lot of camps. There's been the web developers, there's been the graphic designers, there's been the sort of academically focused developers in what some people would call the proper software developers. Then you head on towards the artists, the electronics, the hardware guys. There's no universality to it, there's no group, and I think one of the things that motivated me to do this is to bring everybody together and start to share their ideas and share their knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we come across on our travels, this insular, defensive nature. And I mean, things like this are just bringing it out of you. If people haven't been to Farset Labs before, and we found when we're speaking to people who go to the first meetup, things like that, and they see people like yourself who are organising it, really driving it, and they think, oh, I can't really go up to him, he might tell me where to go or anything like that. I mean, can we just let the viewers know what that isn't?
Well, one of the funny things is that in our, whenever anyone's doing any presentations in here, I will normally be the first person to berate them, and I will be the first person to turn around and say, your idea is wrong, but that's because we're actively trying to encourage an environment where anyone can say anything, and that can be very intimidating. What I would say to anyone considering coming around, just walk in. We had, as I said, we had the major event with Block 54. We had an awful lot of people walking through, and the amount of people that we just started chatting to. It's a really friendly, open community that where 90% of the time, you're going to find somebody who wants to ask legitimate questions about what you do. You have more to give the community than the community has to give to you. Whenever you walk in that door, you are giving something. So we should be thanking you, not berating you. But in terms of the way that the government has recently been very detailed in their handling with different startup incubators and startup accelerators, the short answer is they're not doing it very well. They're trying to micromanage things and they're trying to monitor things that should be allowed to start fast and die quick. If you've got a fantastic idea, I mean, I was writing something earlier and it came across that good ideas are only good ideas until they're tested. Mm-hmm. I mean, everyone can have a good idea. Nobody ever has a bad success, because you've tested your good idea and it either succeeds and you go on and have your fantastic loads of money in IPO for however many, or you discovered that idea was terrible. What an entrepreneur should be doing and what the government shouldn't be doing is you pick it up and you go, right, that was wrong, but I've got something else, I'm going to try again. Mm-hmm. What the government appears to be trying to do, and private industry or the private sector is doing similar things as well, but they're starting to learn, is let that die. If that goes down, don't spend months trying to post-mortem the problem. Don't spend years trying to work out how to pivot that particular product. Go and say, if you've got a good team, your team is the asset. The project might have failed miserably because it was just fundamentally flawed. Mm-hmm. Having my big pet peeve at the minute is people requiring these long-term, massively overdone financial plans. Mm-hmm. I think that
you talk about the government.
Yeah, I mean the government should have the ability to stay out of it and say, right, okay, here's your freedom. Here's you could rant on about all of the lovely things that the government could turn around and do. So tax breaks for entrepreneurs would be the easy one. Mm-hmm. And making tax law for entrepreneurs a little bit simpler, because nobody has any idea what to do. We've had to pull in an accountant just to run this place, mm-hmm. which should be very easy. Mm-hmm. In terms of funding, there are very specific funding programs that can work whenever they're very, very specifically focused. But over the past few years, that's mostly been in the biotech industry, mm-hmm. Which I know very little about, apart from on a third-party basis.
It gets a lot of funding.
Yeah, exactly. Rightly so.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in terms of the recent interest in tech startups, mm-hmm. it strikes of being a bit vogue and a bit sort of ambulance chasing.
So perhaps I don't know. Would you encourage them to? I mean, what are they supposed to do? They give money, give free space, get behind people like yourself.
That's the big thing that I think is missing at the minute. And for instance, now we're going to have to check this afterwards and see how much of this I can actually talk about. But one of the big initiatives that's going through Northern Ireland at the minute is, and has been for a while, is the idea of having a digital hub. Mm-hmm. This has been, I think the first record of the idea was on a Belfast City Council meeting in 2008. Mm-hmm. I'm not entirely sure, I have to check my details. Mm-hmm. Now we're coming up to the point where a few months ago it was announced that Invest and I were bringing in an outside consultancy company to decide on a plan to move forward.
Yeah, we've heard about this. Yeah.
Yep. And I.
What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that it's absolute bollocks and a waste of public money, mm-hmm. It's a waste of time, worse, but it's a waste of public money, especially at this particular economic climate. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that I think was it 4 million or something that's earmarked for it? I'm not saying that 4 million should go to me. I definitely don't want that. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't know what to do with 4 million.
No.
But the government should be able to look at projects like ours and say, right, what do you guys need? You guys are the guys on the ground with the community, dealing with the academics, local business, the local freelance community. What do you need? It shouldn't be some top-down, we're going to build this lovely digital hub that's going to make everything beautiful and fantastic. Yeah, that doesn't work. I mean, look at, if we're looking back on this video in a few years, I might be corrected, but I think the Titanic building is going to be a complete waste of money. It was already late. But the easy example is the Millennium Dome. That was another fantastic development production that was going to be fantastic because they spent all this money to develop it out.
Yeah.
Whenever all they really needed to do was to wait for a few years and pick up on some of the stuff that happened in Shoreditch. That didn't happen because somebody said, "See that epoxy roundabout? That's going to be a digital hub, and we're going to make that. We're going to throw a load of money at that."
It's already happening.
It happened,
Yeah.
and now the government's starting to see, particularly in Shoreditch, just because of the location, they're starting to see just a little bit of softly, come in and ask for advice, and come in and say, right, what do you need? What do companies like you need? What do your members or the people in your incubator need? Instead of going,
Boom, there you go. We've
doesn't
done
work.
this.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah. No, I think that's we're in complete agreement with you there. So, just for the viewers, Farset Labs, based at Weaver's Court, you can go online. Many channels there. Not to be scared coming up to Andrew. He's not going to shout your head off. He might be the guy who's really pushing the project, but you're open to speaking to new people.
That's it. I mean, I'm mostly the PR frontman at the minute, as you can see, and we're all very, very open to new people coming in. If you've got any weird questions, as long as it's not when do you have the 3D printer. I've been getting that for the past couple of months, and it's annoying me now.
It's on its way.
It's on its way. It's one of these things where we would quite like to have chairs, tables, and electricity supplied before we have a 3D printer.
Yeah.
But no, we're very, very welcome. Just if you want, give me a personal tweet at Bolster, Bolster, or if you Google for Andrew Bolster, I think I'm the first 2 pages. And we are completely open. It's walk in. We have a door charge in name only of the £5 a day charge, but I don't think that's ever actually been enforced. It's mostly to stop people just dandering in and using the space every day for free.
Yeah, sure.
But no, completely open.
Andrew, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for coming down.
Cheers.
See you.